Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's pick a card reading, we're going to go fairly deep. This is probably a little bit of a shadow work type of reading. It's certainly in the intention of it is to be gentle and supportive and for Spirit's advice that will help. But it is all about what energies or connections or cords do you need to let go or cut in your life at the moment for your highest good and the highest good of others. So it could pick up sort of relationships that need to shift or past loves that you need to sort of clear the energy from. It could be energy around your work, career, creativity that is holding you back or that you need to move on from. It could be things that you still haven't resolved from things that have happened to you in one or more aspects of your life. Whatever it might be, it's about focusing in on what those energies are, what a healing capacity would be, and then to sort of see what sort of characteristics you or others are expressing in this, and what Spirit's sort of advice is to let that go, release it, and sort of move on, as I say, for your highest good. So we'll start with looking at kind of the key areas where there is energy that needs to be released and some of the healing energy around that. And we're going to sort of see whether or not as well this is primarily something that's going on at the moment or whether it's something from the past that you need to release. Then we'll move into tarot around what the core of these experiences are, what strategies you can have and so forth before we then go to Spirit's advice. So it will go a little bit deep. But as I say, we're going to do this gently. It's about healing and about realization. It's not about any form of judgment or anything like that. So to help with choosing the right reading or readings, feel free to go to more than one if you want. If you think there's quite a few things that you want to release in your life, they may come up over more than one reading. But to help with that, I'm actually using cards from the Mystical Journey Oracle. And they have particularly chosen ones here that have a theme of release, letting go, that kind of energy. I don't know whether they reflect the cards beneath them or what we'll get with the tarot, because that's yet to be seen. The cards beneath were intuitively pulled. I don't know what they are, but it is hopefully maybe to help you zone in on what might be the right kind of energies you want to look at. So for pile number 1, we have the Redemption card. For pile number 2, we have Letting Go. For pile number 3, we have Breaking Free. And for pile number 4, we have Inner Child. So one or more of those energies may particularly call to you. The imagery may, or you may have other ways of deciding. Whatever works for you for finding your pile or piles, do that. When you know, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So we do have the card here that you chose to come here because I do think that it's themically important in the reading, and I'll be using these cards in all of them, not specifically for this one that it's themically important, but there was sort of an intention behind that, even though, as I say, I didn't know what these cards were. But it is interesting to see the play of all these cards. I think there's a very clear message for pile 1, so you'll know whether you've come to the right reading. The Redemption card is where you feel you did something wrong, or you feel that you made mistakes, not necessarily deliberately or in any sense cruel or anything like that, but you feel as though you have a need to open your arms to the universe, as this figure is doing, and allow redemption in and allow a new start, a kind of phoenix-like arising from the ashes of whatever hasn't worked. And I suspect with the Mend a Broken Heart fairy, this is around something to do with a very close personal relationship. It could be a love relationship in terms of a romantic partner. It could also be friends or family. It's got something to do with someone that you were very close to, and possibly you feel as though either you don't know how to get over this and you don't know how to redeem yourself in your own mind, or even redeem the other party. It could be, the redemption could be of the other party, and you want to open your arms and allow for that, but you don't know how to do it. So it sort of depends on what's caused the broken heart, what's caused the rift. But what this is saying quite clearly in the way to let go of the energy here is this sort of sense of regret and remorse. And this card says that regret and remorse is the first step. And then after that, what do you can bring other things in. And what's interesting is that this is very clear advice just from the outset. We have Pinhead Punchinello from the Divine Circus Oracle, and this card says that there are many, many options and many, many ways of doing things, much as they used to talk about 1,000 angels could dance on the pinhead, the head of a pin, so to speak. So this card is here when it says really all you need to do is take one step. And the Lay Vampire Oracle card here is talking about a call for help, reaching out to a friend, to potentially a therapist if you feel very emotionally kind of stuck. But finding the person who can support you, that's the step you need to take. Because in actual fact, it looks as though if you are feeling guilty, you are overdoing that. You are not as guilty in whatever this is as you think. If you're not feeling guilty and it's how to redeem someone else may be able to help you. Not, I would say, the person who needs redemption, if that's the case. It may be more that someone can give you the first steps to help that. And if this energy is that you are being sort of drawn out by somebody who is constantly looking to redeem themselves and you don't know how to get them on the right path, then again, there is maybe some professional advice or a friend may be able to help. So it depends on how this is operating as to whether it's your redemption we're talking about or the redemption of someone you care about, or even you being able to forgive someone for hurting you. There's help for you, and one step is all it takes, and then you're heading in the right direction. So you're not as stuck as you possibly think that you are. So we also had a couple of cards here which were about the healing energy around this. So I just wanted to look at this first, and then we'll see what the healing energy is before we move into the tarot. So we have courage and wild. Okay, so I feel that part of this is saying, that's the courage to take the first step. That's pretty obvious. But I think that you may be being too hard on yourself in some way. I think that there is a wildness in your spirit and it's legitimate. And owning that wildness, owning who you are and owning your sort of sense in nature and in the universe is important. Like self-redemption, self-awareness is maybe the first step, because if you felt that you somehow hurt someone because you were wild and free and you couldn't commit, for instance, and you're not sure how to repair that, the courage to be yourself is the first step, along with the connection with somebody else who can actually help you see that. Because I feel like you're a little bit blinded by a sense of, did I do something wrong? Did I hurt someone? Or I was hurt because I was so different and so wild and untamed compared to maybe a much more conventional person. So it depends on what that resonates for, but there's something around you letting go of this sense that you're carrying a guilt for being different and having the courage to do it. Okay, so we're going to use tarot now, and we're going to firstly ask, before we do that, we're going to use the divination coin, because we want to have a look at how present this is. So basically, we're going to look at whether or not it's more in the past or more in the present. So whatever this thing is for redemption, is it something that is still with you, a relationship that's still with you, a situation that's still with you, or is it something from the past? So I'm going to use the divination yes and no coin, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it off camera so I don't potentially break the camera. And if it's yes, then it's still present in your life. It's a relationship or scenario that's still there. If it's no, it means it's a past thing that is still weighing you down. Okay, so it's a past thing that's still weighing you down. This is a past relationship. This is something, the relationship could still be around your life, but if it is, it's been changed significantly. There was a past relationship that you either feel guilty about or you feel hurt by, but you still want to redeem it, at least in your mind and so forth. So this is residual emotional energy we're dealing with. Okay. So let's have a look with tarot, firstly, about a little bit more of the core experience, and then we're going to look at what strategies Spirit has for you for doing this beyond, as I say, taking that first courageous step to talk about it with somebody who can help you. Because it does look like maybe you've kept it all to yourself. I'm getting that some of you feel with the wild card that you are very different in the way that you love and how you want to be in relationships. You maybe don't think people will even understand, but this is definitely saying somebody will. Okay. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of cups for this, because this is about a relationship. It's about a love relationship in some way. And I think there was a lot that was ideal about it to start with, and there was probably a lot of happiness in it. This is probably why it's still staying with you. There was probably something that was very good about this relationship, but it left. It left because it kind of got a bit stuck. I think that for many of you, one or other of you wanted more from the relationship than the other person was ready to give at that time. So although it was very pleasurable, it also brought up fears of abandonment, fears of being stuck, fears of not being able to take things to the next level. And certainly it hurt your pride, which might be why there's a sort of redemption issue here. You may have actually acted out with the Page of Staves or Page of Wands reversed. You may have sort of said things or talked about the person already. Maybe this is why there's courage now to talk about this. You might need to almost redress the story. If this is you feeling guilty and wanting to redeem yourself, you may have actually acted out and talked about the person and so forth, because you were hurt, and you now need to kind of almost correct the record. That's a possibility with these cards. Otherwise, you felt very much like your personal sense of self and recognition and so forth was depleted by this relationship not working out. I'm getting that for some of you, because it seems so ideal, people might have actually even like looked up to it aspirationally. And so when it broke up, there might have been some guilt that was put on you. Friendships might have guilted you out, something like that. But Spirit is saying that that's because you hadn't fully sort of decided who you were in the relationship. It was all sort of the emotion and what people saw and the dream of it. I'm also getting that for some of you, that's the key point too, that you had a dream of this relationship, an idea of this relationship, and you sacrificed a lot of yourself into it. But it didn't work because it was just a dream. The thing that actually left was not what you thought it was. The relationship was not what you thought it was. It would have stayed stuck. It needed to move on. But to understand from this, maybe part of the redemption is understanding you didn't do anything wrong. You know, it just wasn't the relationship that was going to be the long-term one. There was nothing that you did that was wrong, even if you did act out a little bit. It's really understanding how much you gave over your sense of self to this dream of a relationship. That's the first step. That's the thing to understand and to let go of, the relationship idea, and you're still hanging on to that idea, and you're kind of castigating yourself and wondering whether or not you can still have love. Even if you're in a relationship now, I feel like then this is a very past relationship where there's a program operating in your mind that says at some point, this won't be what I think it is. At some point, I'm going to have to give up stuff of myself. So I almost throw myself into that immediately. But it's more having a reasonable and rational way of dealing with it. So let's have a look at what strategies can release this energy that can let you let go, I think, of this idea. I think you held yourself in the relationship to a higher standard than it was going to give you. So what helps you release from this? Wow. Okay. Firstly, you have to allow yourself to feel the pain. I think you've kind of shut it down. That's why this is still lingering. It's almost as though there's a part of you thinks, could this still come back? Could this still be what I want it to be? What did I do wrong? What could I do differently? And I think Spirit is saying that's not, let go of the pain, because the pain is all in a way that's left and you didn't do anything wrong. It keeps saying that. It's understand this person is coming up as the King of Swords reversed. This isn't about gender, but they weren't the right intellectual fit. They weren't the right philosophical fit. So I think there was a very strong and genuine love between you and this person. And this is whether it's a love relationship as a romance or whether this is a friendship. There was a very genuine emotional thing, but you kind of didn't agree on almost the structure of life and so forth. And they may have been dishonest with you. It is, with the King of Swords reversed, that is possible. And they may have played mind games with you as well too, which might also be why you are still having this residual energy. They may in fact be the sort of people that go no contact and then come back, and no contact and then come back. If that's the case, and certainly talking to a friend about that pattern will help bring this to the surface. So that's going to be specific. It's not going to be everybody. Where it's not that, where it's not some sort of mind game the person is playing because they kind of want you there just in case almost, because they like to play games with people. I think it's more that it was just a philosophical difference. It wasn't necessary. I think for most of you it was a very genuine feeling. But I think there was just a clash of world viewpoint in a way. That's why we've got all these coins reversed. It's like it didn't have the capacity to fully land. Both of you were in a sense alone within the relationship. So both, and I think maybe both of you had an idea of the relationship and it wasn't the same idea. And you've got to unlearn that. Like with the Eight of Coins reversed, it's like an unlearning process. Unlearn all the things that you thought you knew about that relationship, because with the Seven of Coins reversed, it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. It wasn't going to give either of you a return on investment. I think for most of you, this person was not bad. It is possible for a few, there could have been something like that. If that's the case, then I think it's kind of cut it out now. Just cut it out now, because it's just going to be a pattern that you can't be freed from if you don't do that. And really, you don't need to redeem yourself at all. If that's going on, then it's the other person. But I think for most of you, the reason you feel this is you think, what did I do wrong? Because there was a lot that was good about it. But it was just a very different worldview. And in the longer term, you were kind of together alone. So this is why the energy is saying, you know, let that energy go. Okay, so let's see a little bit about personality characteristics. So this could either be you or the other party involved in this, and I do think it's another person, like a romance or a friend, and we'll just sort of see what the energies are to see whether Spirit wants to talk about them and you understanding that better, or whether it's more about understanding yourself before we move into some advice. Okay, hope, acquisitiveness, sublimity. Okay. I think this is a bit of both, and I think these are you. So the reason I say that is that I think, and this depends upon the situation that we're talking about. If this is all you, so this is all talking about the primary energy I see here, which is a relationship that had a lot of true love in it, but was just not a philosophical fit. There was part of what keeps you going is this hope, and you almost need to let go of the hope about it. It's almost like if you let yourself down, if you this is why there's a feeling of redemption, but it's like understanding, you know, that hope is the thing that keeps you stuck in this energy, and a sense of acquisitiveness, of ownership and so forth, that you know, you belong together is sort of like the feeling coming off it. So the hope that says in the end it will work out, I just need to do something differently, I just need to redeem myself, that keeps you stuck in this energy. And it's because it seemed really sublime, it seemed really resplendent, it seemed perfect, but that's the word, seemed. And I don't think for most of you this is bad. I don't think for most of you this person is bad. It's just it was an idea you had, and it was an idea both of you had, but it was a different idea. Now, there is the possibility for some that this energy, if this is operating as someone who is playing mind games, they might just like to own people. You know, that may be going on. So if that's the case, be aware of that, because they're playing on your hope, and they're playing on messages of how, you know, beautiful and wonderful you are when you are together. So that may be a bit of a warning if it's picking up the King of Swords energy in that way. Okay, so let's use another deck to sort of see if there's any other information that can help us with this. Healer, problem solver, procrastinator. So this is interesting. This is telling me, I think these are elements of you, and I think it's why you're kind of getting caught in this thing. The redemption, you want to heal this other person, you want to heal the relationship, you want to feel that you can do that, but you're kind of a little bit overwhelmed by it, so you procrastinate. Well, I'll sort it out later. This is why it's a past energy that's still with you. But you are also a problem solver. And this is about the fact of understanding it from an intellectual perspective. This is why the first step is to talk to someone. Talk about what happened. Talk about the experience. Start to put it into an intellectual framework, because that's where the issue was. And once you can identify that, you can heal yourself, and you don't have to kind of put off letting this energy go. Okay, so we really do want to ask the Spirit team for a care package for you. So we're going to start with some astrology energy for you. Then we're going to look at some chakra energy. And last of all, we'll bring it all together for the release of these patterns with the Astro Chakra cards. So firstly, some astrology to help you release this pattern and cut this cord potentially, I think, from this person. Leo. Trine, we'll have a look at the planets involved in that. And 7th house. Okay, so this is telling me that a lot of your sense of self-esteem and who you are in the world comes from the relationships that you have. So this is part of the pattern and understanding it. It's sort of like you had attached your sense of self to the relationship. And I think this is about understanding that you are more than the relationship, and that when you own more who you are and you have pride in who you are, then you will bring in the better relationship. And it should be easier than you expect with a trine. So a trine is an aspect of ease. So I'm going to just shuffle, and then I'm going to deal out till I get 2 planets to see what Spirit is trying to tell you about the energies of ease that can help you in releasing this pattern, pile 1. Mercury, so yes, talking. It's been there right from the beginning, talking to someone. Mercury and Neptune, talking to get clarity. By communicating with others, you get clarity. So Mercury, trine, Neptune. Some of you may have that in your chart as well too, or it could exist in a chart between you and this other person. And if that's the case too, in fact, I'm getting that for some, that probably is the case. If you ever saw the combined chart of the two of you, they call it synastry. That may very well have been there, because that could have said that there was too much communication that wasn't clear. I think for you, communication helps clarify, but I think maybe there was the communication of the ideal rather than what was actually going on. So trines are great, but they can sometimes make something so easeful that you don't have the grit that's necessary to really manifest something. So that's a possibility, I think, if it was in your combined chart. Okay, let's ask for chakra support for you from Spirit. Root chakra and crown chakra. Okay, so this is going to take you from the base of your personality through to your sort of spiritual connection. But you start with the base, I think. It feels a bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to sort out what this means to you at a kind of base survival level to eventually then self-actualize. So with Ghana in the root chakra, this is about courage and hope. So it's courage to retain hope in yourself, I think, but not to hold on to hope that isn't going to manifest. And the affirmations are, I hope for the best in every situation, and I have the courage to evolve. So yes, you have the courage to let go of that which is not going to serve you. Then the crown chakra has aqua aura quartz, which is about the higher self and activation. I activate my inner goddess. Yes, get back to the Leonian energy of who you are. And I always listen to my higher self. So yes, do connect to that. For some of you, it may be your higher self that you connect with, but I think for most there's a friend or something like that, or potentially, as I say, a therapist, depending upon how deeply you feel this and whether you feel you need that sort of support. I would always encourage that to be explored if you feel that need, rather than just relying on tarot readings. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to just put out 3 astro chakra cards to bring it all together for you, pile 1. Solar plexus, the sacral, and the solar plexus. Yes, this is all about you regaining your power. And it's interesting here because when we have 2 solar plexus cards, then we have the planets. It's like they're conjunct. So we have Mercury and Saturn. Your structure, your understanding, your wisdom will come from how you communicate. It feels like you've kept a lot of this inside. The hurt, the sort of dismay, the hope, it's all been kept inside. I almost get the sense with some of you, it's almost like you're a bit embarrassed. It's like, maybe this relationship seemed to be the one and everybody thought that, and then it sort of didn't happen or it fell apart. And you're kind of a bit embarrassed to talk about it, but by bringing that Saturnian structure and wisdom sort of energy and discipline into your communication, you re-engage your power, which then allows you with Jupiter there and the wisdom of Jupiter around your sacral thing to be honest with yourself, honest about it, and bring in and create for yourself the type of relationship that you really want. So pile 1, I hope that resonates for you, because it does look like you've been through a bit, but I suspect that's going to be the case with all the readings because of the nature of the reading. But I do think, as you said right at the beginning, there's really only one step you need to take, and it's all going to come together, and it's going to bring you a clarity through communication and discussion and recentering your power. So I wish you well with it. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about it in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 2 to your reading. So we have the letting go card as part of this picture with some other cards to give a sense about what it is, what energies that you need to release, cords that you need to cut, changes that you need to make. We will then look at some healing energy before we go into the tarot. I think that for most people who've come to this reading, this is all about letting go of appearances, letting go of having to fit in some way, letting go of feeling that you had to play a game that wasn't relevant or resonant to you, and being able to go after what you truly want. The reason I say that is we start with letting go. So the energy that drew you here, you knew that there's something you need to let go of. When we have the good geisha, this is someone who's extremely adept at playing the game and putting on the masks and doing all the things that a social group or a group of friends or a workplace or a family or whatever it might be requires, but is ready now to let that game go and to be more authentic. The hunter energy is about owning that it's okay, that sometimes it is time for you to go after what you want. So this certainly feels as though maybe you have put your own dreams and wishes and desires on the back burner to help other people or to fit into a group or whatever it might be, or you felt constrained in a workplace and you want to think about having your own business. There's just this sense of breaking free, and the energy that you need to release or the cords that you need to cut are anything that holds you to the false self so that you can actually pursue the true self. With the 3 witchy sisters, this is a very interesting card. It sort of picks up the rule of 3. So it suggests that whatever this is, and you'll know best which applies to you, but whatever it is that you are needing to sort of escape from, move out of, so that you can pursue who you are, there's a pattern around it. What this card says is that if something has happened 3 times, it's over. If this pattern has happened 2 times, there's 1 more time you need to face it. If it's only happened once, there will be 2 challenges. So depending upon what the situation is, so to give you an example, if this was you leaving a workplace to get to something that's more authentic to you and finding what you want, it may be that it takes a couple more tries at that before you really find who you are. But having done it once, you will have the courage and the ambition to continue to do it. You're no longer constrained by feeling you have to fit in. If you have already done that 3 times, then you are going to really take this bravery and courage, and you're going to go forward to potentially, as I say, create your own business or find the right role and so forth. That's just an example as a career thing. It could be around relationships. It could be that you've made yourself fit into social groups and so forth for love, and yet that hasn't really been truly what you want, and maybe there's sort of a little bit more searching to do, or you may be ready to move on completely. But this is all about letting go of what is false, taking on what is your own, and owning that it is fine to be ambitious, it is fine to go after what you want, so let go of any kind of guilt that would have been associated with that. Okay, so let's have a look at what healing energy is around you before we have a look in the tarot. So we discover your life purpose. Yes, I think for many of you this is about career or vocation and healing. So I would say that for most people who've come here, you're at least on 2, if not 3 with this. I think that there's already been some disappointments and some costs, and you're healing from that, and part of your healing is to own who you are. So letting go is important to heal within, but I suspect you've tried to fit in a number of environments or a number of careers or whatever it might be, and until you have work towards your life purpose, you've sort of experienced this, that sort of not fitting in and so forth. So I think most of you are at the end of this cycle. This is all about letting go of the past. But one of the things that may help us know that is we're using the divination coin. So instead of a yes and no in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it, and yes will mean this is still in your life. So it would be, you're still in a job that you want to leave, or you're still going through the cycle of 3. No would suggest that you've actually moved on from the situation, so you're more in this space of like hunting for what you want and discovering your life purpose. So I'm just going to flip it off camera because I don't want to break the camera. And it says no. Okay, so for most of you, this is why I felt like most of you have already gone through the 3. I think that you've fully understood this now. You've let go of all the sort of sense of, do I have to fit in? You really are in this space, so that's good. That suggests you're on your healing journey and you're finding this. So I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about particularly once we get to the strategies, it's going to be really helping to identify what your core life purpose is. But we're going to use tarot now for just a little bit more information. Firstly, about what's the core experiences that are involved in this for you. Might help us see whether, some of it may be about love and other things as well too. Though with your life purpose, if that's the case, then the love is very important to that. And then we're going to ask for strategies. Okay. So, firstly, around the core experience, there is probably one or more people around you who are very inauthentic, maybe highly critical. That's partly what sort of held you bound. That's what you need to let go, needing the approval of these people and so forth. You need to let go of what is conventional. You're meant to be the Knight of Swords the right way up. This is not about gender, but the right way up, this is this energy. This is going after you what you want. This is maybe surprising people and doing things that they don't expect, but it's true towards your true purpose. But there is certainly still some energy of critique around you. So if you have, as this suggested with the no, moved on, you've kind of gone through this cycle, there's still some residual stuff you need to let go of where people have tried to define you illegitimately. Yeah, and part of it may be because you do need to connect to your spiritual side to find your life purpose. It's almost like what you found, pile 2, is what you're not. You're not yet aware of what you are. And while that's the case, people can still influence you. People can still draw you in. But the Grand Duke in this particular deck is actually the High Priestess. So this is about connecting to your inner knowing, your inner self. And then we have the Magician, what your skills are, what is in your kit bag, who are you truly. By connecting on those sort of spiritual, esoteric levels, that's where you start to see your life purpose. That's where you start to heal. But while you're just in the, well, this isn't it, I'm escaping thing, it's very easy for other people to get into the airspace and tell you, you really need to do this within yourself. This is not something to go and crowdsource a concept from your friends. That's almost the problem. It's almost that kind of social strata or whatever has had too much of an impact on you. You need to go into your inner knowing. It's far more acute than you give yourself credit for, because a big part of this is about your life purpose. Okay, so given that, let's have a look at what strategies Spirit suggests for you to do that, to help get into that inner knowing and turn off the white noise of the other people telling you what to do or criticizing you. Okay, so firstly, this particular tarot has an extended set of major arcana cards that includes, amongst other things, the various signs in astrology. So the fact that we've got 3 there suggests that for you there's some answer in these sorts of attributes, or that these are strong in your chart, and by really thinking about how they connect together, if you know your chart well, that may help you work out what your life purpose is. So before we go to these 2 cards, I just want to talk about Virgo, Pisces and Aquarius. So we've actually got there everything except a fire sign. And it's interesting that we've got the 2 of staves, which is wands, which is the fire thing, reversed. So one of the things I think that Spirit might be saying here is that the thing maybe that you're not focusing on and you need to focus on is what your fiery, creative, who am I sense of self is. It's very much this, and it'll be interesting, we'll see later in the reading, but it's very much the root chakra and the sacral chakra, and to some degree the solar plexus. It's at the base, who are you, that kind of fiery ambition. Because that's a bit dialed down at the moment, probably because somebody is very, very critical of you if you try to express that. So you need to kind of break that cord, or at least break its influence. If it's someone that you have to have around you for some reason, or if it's a friend that you like for other reasons, then break the influence they have on your sense of self. You can really plan who you are and bring it into being with Virgo. You have a high sense of empathy with the High Priestess. It's interesting that Virgo and Pisces are connected to the High Priestess. That the High Priestess is technically Moon in Virgo, So we have that connection there, but many people associate Pisces with the High Priestess as well too. So this capacity to bring in the psychic and the spiritual and give it manifestation is part of your gift. It's part of your life purpose. And it is for a bigger purpose than just you with Aquarius there. So Aquarius is about a larger stage. So I think one of the things that Spirit is saying here is that you need a larger stage, that some of this other energy has constrained you. You're meant to be on a bigger stage in some way. And you will always be unhappy with and discontented with the conventional. You're meant to be unconventional. You're meant to be creative. You're meant to do something, as I say, on a larger stage. Once you realize that and you trust your capacity to bring in and manifest in a very planned and particular way what you want to be and who you are, it will shut off this white noise for you. So you just need to let go of the concept that other people know better about you than you do, because you know better about you than they do. Okay, so let's have a look at some personality characteristics. So this is to try and pick up, it'll either be picking up characteristics that you have that will either help you or that you need to address to let go of the energy that isn't working for you, or it might pick up something a bit more about the people that are influencing you. So we'll just see what energy we get, what Spirit wants to talk about. Tune, individuality, sublimity. Okay. I think these are aspects of you that Spirit is asking you to have a look at. You be more in tune with yourself, and also I think you can find the people that you are more in tune with, and I do think they're going to be more creative. I think you're in a very conventional environment. I think you need to be more creative. Some of you may find it through music, melody, and so forth. Certainly there's a resonance to what your message is, and you're highly individualistic, and this is the problem. You can't just be the conventional. It's just not who you are. There's something very sublime about your sort of spiritual connection and what you can bring in, something very sublime about your creativity. If you do use music, it will be beautiful music and very individual. So those are elements to think about. It's almost saying, even if you don't want to be a musician, almost in your head write the soundtrack of what your new life looks like. It helps bring this energy in for you. Okay, so let's use another deck, and this may either be talking about you or about the energies you need to release, the people you need to release. 20s, healer, mysterious. Okay. All right. Again, I think this is probably you. I think this is the whole message of this. This white noise is not important. Just cut it out. You may be in your 20s. You don't have to be. The era of the 20s is when you're really deciding who you are. So even if you're in your 40s or your 50s, if you've been held in a conventional space and you know that there's the song of your heart is to now be more an individual, it's almost like getting back into that 20s mindset where anything is possible. Because really, once you connect into your skills and abilities, and that kind of capacity to manifest, anything is possible. You can heal yourself, you possibly can heal others. Being a bit mysterious is good. Don't tell everybody about this. This is why I felt like you don't crowdsource this. You work it out for yourself. Other people can see by what you become, what you've done. You don't need to describe it, because if you describe it, it's like people kind of get in your ear and tell you that's not going to work, or try and get you to sort of do it their way. So this is very much an individual journey for you. Okay, so let's ask Spirit for a care package for you. Let's ask for some astrological information that will help you on top of what we've already got from the Minchiate Tarot. And then we'll look at some chakra energy and then combine the two as the astro chakra. So firstly, some astrology advice for you, pile 2. Waxing crescent. Conjunction, we'll have a look at what planets are conjunct. And first quarter. Okay, so these two are definitely saying it's time to act. And this is, again, why I feel like probably you've been through the 3. You're now at the point where you can really lift off. So this is saying set your intentions. This is a very Virgoan thing. And first quarter is picking up speed, make decisions and so forth. That's almost the Aquarian sort of stepping back, and the Magician making the decisions about what you want to do. Conjunction can either be an aspect of ease, or it can be an aspect of tension, depending upon what the planets are. So let's just see whether or not Spirit wants to tell you about some tension you need to balance within yourself or the scenario, or whether this is about something easeful by getting 2 planets for you. can take a little while to get to a planet. There's one, Neptune. Neptune and Mars. Okay, so I think that can work both positively and negatively in this context. At the moment, I think what Spirit is saying, what you have to release is the confusion about what your ambition is. So Neptune on Mars can make you confused. It can give you all sorts of dreams, but not the clarity to act when Neptune is in a sense dominant there. When Mars is more dominant, so action, it helps you create the ideal that Neptune gives. So I think it's saying, once you decide to take action, this sort of sense of moving forward and determining it for yourself, being that hunter, then you actually use Neptune in its most ideal way, and that connects into the sort of energy around the High Priestess and the Piscean energy and all of that sort of thing as well, because the ruler of Neptune Pisces is ruled by Neptune, sorry. Okay, so let's have a look at chakra energy for you in your spiritual care package, pile 2. Sacral chakra and crown chakra. Okay, the crown chakra is the sort of High Priestess magician energy that you have, definitely. Sacral chakra is all about what you want to create, and I think you're creating yourself. So Tiger's Eye there gives insight and power. The affirmations are, I realize my own power and don't underestimate it. Other people have got you to underestimate it. Just let that go. And I trust my psychic insight, and do that with the High Priestess and the Magician together. Spirit was definitely telling you are very on point when it comes to that, which also makes it very, very reasonable that the crown chakra would turn up as well. So we have clear quartz, which is about amplification and concentration. The affirmations are, I concentrate on things that matter to me. Yes, that matter to you, pile 2. And I amplify my voice and speak with confidence. I think you do that when you've decided. I don't think, as I say, don't go and crowdsource this. Make your decisions, act, and then you can speak confidently about why you did it. Don't give anybody else an opinion on this at this point. All right, so to bring it all together as final sort of advice for you, we'll just use 3 Astro Chakra cards. So we've got the crown chakra again. So you're very dialed in. Communication. And communication again. Okay, so yes, once you have worked it out, then you can communicate it because you do it from a position of strength. So the spirituality connects you with the moon and with acceptance. I do think some of you may have a Virgo or a Piscean moon. You don't have to, but I think some of you might, and that might be tilting to some of the psychic energy coming through. But you have to accept yourself, and you have to do it from within yourself first. Then you can move into the communication side with the throat chakra. And this is like having Mercury and Mars conjunct. You are much more forceful then in expressing who you are, speaking out about your life direction. So you're taking back the pilot seat in this. You're taking back the controls. And that's what you should be doing. And once you know that you've done it, that's when you can tell people. So pile 2, I hope that was helpful. I hope it resonates for you. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about it, love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So this was the card Breaking Free that brought you to the reading. These are some other cards to give us a bit of a sense about what energies or connections or cords you need to break free from, literally, or cut. And then we will look at some healing energy before we go into the tarot. So this is interesting. There's almost a little bit in both directions for this. I think there's both a liberation energy and also a moderation energy. And so it's balancing the two. Because when we start with breaking free, this is where you worry too much about things, you live in your head, you catastrophize, you think any decision you make, particularly if you feel that it might not be acceptable to others, is going to have really bad ramifications further down the path. So one of the energies that Spirit is talking about releasing yourself from is the over-analysis, the analysis paralysis, that kind of energy, or the worrying just for the sake of worrying, because as they say, worry half the time the things you worry about don't happen. So this is definitely something about letting go of that. And with the Gypsy Columbine, it's about letting go of everybody else's opinions and the person you should be as far as they are concerned, and behaving the right way, quote unquote. So there is one side of this that is saying that if you do certain behaviours, just to fit in and just not to have to worry about the consequences of it, then you are actually imprisoning yourself. So there is something in here about working out what is true to you and not what fits polite society or whatever it might be. And with ecstasy here, enjoying yourself in the way that you want to enjoy yourself, love in the way that you love, whatever it might be. So that's definitely part of the essence, is letting go of the social construct around what you enjoy, what you love. But with the absinthe fairy as well here, Spirit is saying that you do need to be careful, because the overwhelming feeling that can occur when you liberate yourself like that can bring intoxication, it can bring addiction and all that sort of thing. So it's like, tune your mind to what you need to tune it to and not to the other. So I think what this is saying is that somewhere within you've had this sense, and it may be because of past addictive behaviors or whatever that you've dealt with, that if you let go and you do something outside of the norm and you give in to what you care about, you're going to be in some sort of addictive cycle. Certainly if there is a core addiction, the mind and probably therapy and support and all that sort of stuff is necessary. And do not just rely on a tarot reading. Get the professional advice if that resonates for you. But on the other hand, it's like there is maybe too much regulation you're putting on yourself, which is actually taking the joy and the love out of your life. So it's getting things in balance. So the energy to release is, it's not so much releasing it or cutting the cord, it's redirecting it. It's directing the mind to have enough regulation that you don't get overwhelmed by what you want, but not so much that you can't enjoy life and be true to who you are. So it's a very, very delicate balance, I think, here. Let's have a look at what the energies are around healing for you. So take off your masks and sadness. Okay. So this is the sadness. You live in a state of sadness about this, and whether you can take off your mask or whether you have to fit in. It could be because of past regrets. Some of you may have past regrets around approaches or ways that you behaved before, and you feel like, it's all or nothing. And I think this is saying that's not true. But a mask is not going to help you. It's just another form of addiction, and it holds you in that sadness pattern. So it's being gentler on yourself around who you are, but regulation around making sure that you don't overdo it, so that it's putting you back in the driver's seat. It's saying that even if something happened in the past, and I think for many of you who've come to the right reading, it did, where you kind of went overboard with something and you regret it, you've learnt from that, and understand that you've learnt from that. Don't just live in the sadness, but work out that that's actually changed who you are. You're not likely to go back into that pattern because you've learnt. But as I say, if you do feel a little bit wobbly on that, get the right support around you. Get the therapy or other supports around you to just get that balance right. Because otherwise it's like you sort of take a pill every day, and I'm not saying you're taking medication, this is an analogy. You take a pill every day that kind of blands everything out, so you don't feel the sadness and you don't risk anything, but then life is not. It's like Soma in Brave New World, I guess is what I'm talking about. Soma is the thing in Brave New World where everybody was quote unquote happy. They didn't feel anything but happy. But in the absence of the sadness, in the absence of the full spectrum of human emotion, does it even mean anything? So it's about a balance there. But as I say, this is a very delicate balance, and if you feel the need, you should get therapeutic support with this sort of energy. Okay, so let's firstly, actually, before we do the tarot, I'm using the yes/no coin here, not as yes or no, but if I'm going to flip it one time, and if it comes out as yes, then this means that this energy is still very present in your life. It's about a particular choice and so forth that is present. If it's no, it means that this is a residual energy that you're dealing with. It's not really an immediate thing. It's just a pattern from the past that you haven't fully let go of. So I'm just flipping the coin. And we've got yes. So this is very present. I would have been somewhat surprised if it wasn't, because it feels like it's a delicate balance you're trying to work through. I think that you have an opportunity, I think, before you to be more authentic in what you love and care for and how you live your life, but you are also worried about the consequences of it, both socially and also on your own sort of sense of equilibrium. So let's ask Spirit for a little bit more information about the core experience that's involved here, and then we'll ask for strategies. Okay. So this is very much a mental issue. It's saying this is why we've got that card to start with. So it's the catastrophizing, it's the ideas, and it's based on something that didn't work out before. And it's interesting. It sort of has something to do with your material outcomes, what made you feel stable, what made you feel healthy even. It may well have been that you got out of balance and looked for ways to deal with that in a way that was sort of addictive and wasn't helpful for you. But it has to do with worry and fear about that. So Spirit says that the main thing that you need to be able to let go of is the fear. And I do think for many of you, it may be that there is a figure that can help you, like a therapist, like a doctor, like a close friend who's very grounded and understands this. There's something like that, because at the moment this particular pack has an extended major arcana, which includes the astrological signs. And with both Aries and Libra there, but both being reversed, it says that you are not in balance, and you're not being fair to yourself. Like, I think you're actually being far more harsh on yourself than you need to be. I think that you're much more advanced than you think, but you do need this sort of support and advice so that you can kind of break yourself out of your own intellectual sort of prison. And you're also suppressing your own sort of sense of dynamism and ambition and who you are. So you're not, your brain is overheated about this, and then where your sort of creativity and passion and all that, you're sort of suppressing it, because it's all about what are the consequences. And it's just being out of balance with it, because it is good to know about consequences, and the fact that you worry about it. It's a bit like they say, if you worry that you're going crazy, that's a sign you're not crazy. So people who don't worry about going crazy, who possibly are. So you really are doing the work, but I think you need some sort of authority figure, friend or something to validate that for you so that you can feel more in control. Okay, so let's ask Spirit for a little bit more advice for you around this. Okay. So firstly, Spirit is saying, don't underestimate how far you've come. You are on your life purpose. You are on your life path. You have a lot of skills to bring to this. Do not underestimate yourself. It's kind of that really smart mind that is now working against you that can work for you and can bring back the optimism and that sort of sense of, rebalancing everything. I think that for many of you, there's someone in your family probably who can help you. I think that can help you understand that you're good as you are, and that it's okay to enjoy yourself and be true to yourself and take those masks off, as I say. I think there is a real sense of stability. I mean, the other side of it could be the exact opposite. It could be that you need someone to break you from patterns in the past. If the patterns that you got into are generational, then it's sort of the opposite. But I think for most of you, there's actually kind of nostalgia and connection to family. Reconnecting with family, reconnecting with those that can help you is another option on top of, as I say, therapy. And maybe both is necessary for you. Certainly, you can start to move into a more ideal idea about how you want to love and care and have emotional fulfillment. That is possible. There are options for you, more than you're giving yourself credit for. So allow that you are actually more advanced and in control than you think. I think that's the thing. But, there's someone, family member, friend, as I say, therapist, somebody who can really help you really see that who you always wanted to be from childhood is someone that you can actually be, particularly emotionally. All right, so let's have a look then at some personal characteristics. So this is to pick up either characteristics that you have that will either help you or that you need to sort of also let go of, or it could pick up if there's anybody you need to let go of. This doesn't feel so much like that. It feels more like you've got to trust yourself, but we'll just see what the cards say. Touch, concentrativeness, and firmness. Okay, so I think these are aspects of you. This is really the thing you need to get in balance. You're highly sensitive. This is why you worry that you could sort of end up in sort of addictive behaviours or repetitive behaviours, even if they aren't, addictions. You could get hurt very easily. I think there's a side of you that says, if I'm firm and I have fortitude, it can't touch me, and I'll just focus on what I need to do in the world. But this is saying that fortitude and that focus that you have can help you protect your sensitivity so that you can actually be more true to who you are, and so you don't have to worry that you're somehow going to lose control. You're not, if you are aware of it. If you, as I say, you turn that mind, that very strong fortitude, firmness, and the capacity to focus on how you protect yourself to be able to be sensitive, to touch, to reach out, to do all those sort of things without ending up in a situation where you feel out of control. Okay, let's look at another deck for you of characteristics. Problem solver. Astrology, okay. 30s. All right. So this is going back to the fact that because your mind is so strong, you've got it turned against you at the moment, but it is so strong. You are a problem solver. You can work this out. You really can. But I do think for some of you, family or a friend or a therapist or whatever will help you really get in touch with that. You are able to solve this problem. It's not outside of your ability. Astrology may help you if you know your chart or you're an astrologer. That could be a helpful thing. It would also say probably that some of this balance is within your astrology chart. I'm getting that for some of you, it could be the balance of your north and south nodes. And so moving away from a south node, which you felt too open in a sense, to a north node that gives you a sense of clarity and firmness, but also truth in some way. I'm just getting that could be the case for some of you. You may be in your 30s. You don't have to be. The decade of the 30s is where we really start to establish who we are. So there is something very fundamental here where part of this is about you being true to yourself, and not being so worried about the sort of, at worst gossip or sort of like views of other people. It's being true to yourself. The 30s is that coming of age type of period of time. So even if you aren't in your 30s, it's that kind of energy around you. So let's ask for a spiritual care package for you. And we're going to start with astrology, which should be fairly significant for you, given that, to sort of see the kind of energies that spirit could send you to help you get this balance right, and to just back yourself on what you believe and how you can be in the world, because I think that's the main thing here. Okay, we have fire, water, and fixed. Okay, so fire signs: Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You are probably, it's saying those are the things that you need to get in touch with. That's not the air signs, it's not the sense of sitting in the mind. It's what are you passionate about? What do you care about? Getting those more front and center. And knowing with fixed signs that you're able to be consistent and stable, like backing yourself again. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius there. So that's the sort of sense that you are stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. So I think it's just, you have the strength to withstand whatever this is. If you felt that you kind of like got overblown with something before, or got into repetitive or addictive behaviors, you know that now you can do what you need to do, and you know when you need to ask for help as well. Okay, so let's have a look at chakra energy around you. Crown chakra and sacral chakra. So this is about love, creativity, how you want to create yourself in the world, and connecting to your higher self, because that's significant with the sun and the magician together. So the crown chakra here with purple fluorite is about dreams and visions. I never lose sight of my creative visions, and I pay close attention to my dreams. So allow that sort of fiery, watery sign of you, not just the mind. Don't hold everything in such strict regulation. Allow that energy to come through. And with the sacral chakra with citrine, which is about creativity and happiness, I choose to be happy. I create endlessly. So yes, you can make the choice. This is the point. You are far more in control of yourself than you're giving yourself credit for. Okay, pile 3, to bring it all together, we're just going to pull 3 Astro Chakra cards. Third eye chakra, sacral chakra again, sacral chakra again. Yeah, there's a lot about you creating you and having faith in your capacity to create you in this. So your intuition, your psychic ability, your telepathy and so forth brings you wisdom. So you use that to search and find what is true. And I think it is also connecting you to the right benefic supports. I think for some of you there is a friend or a therapist or something, and don't avoid that if you think that it could help you, because I think it's really just about giving you that sense of yourself so that you can move forward, because this is all about you creating yourself, your individuality, your inspiration and so forth, because with 2 sacral chakras, it's like having Uranus and Neptune conjunct. So your really strong individuality can be connected to your sort of Neptunian energy. It is showing the internal battle, the thing that you have to watch and the thing that you're aware of, which is that Uranus and Neptune together, that wish to be individual, could bring some confusion. And so there is something, and I would say it's in your chart, where but you're very, very aware of this. And as I keep saying, the people who are aware of things are far less likely to do it than the people who aren't. But it is affirming that you can let go of the strictness of your regulation by repurposing it to get that balance right, and to make yourself know that you can do this. You fit it in with other things. You can also be true to yourself without getting into a trap of some sort of behavior that's going to not help you. So it is a delicate balance, pile 3. That's why I keep saying get help if you feel that would be useful. I feel that it would be only needed for a short period of time if you do need it. It's sort of like just getting all of this balanced in your mind and repurposing your mind towards controlling what you need to control on yourself, rather than shutting who you really are down. But for some of you, you won't need it. So it really just depends. So that part you need to work out for yourself. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope it was helpful and illuminating. If so, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you care to share about it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. So here we have the inner child card that brought you to the reading, and some other cards to give us a sense about what energies, people, cords, etc. do you need to release or cut at this point in time for your highest good. And the inner child card helps start the journey of what we're looking at. And as I say, we'll have these cards to give more information. Then we'll have healing cards before we move to the tarot and so forth. This is interesting because I think the inner child card has come because something happened to you when you were young that made you not feel who you were, or not feel connected, or not feeling like you belonged. There is a sense of absence. There is a sense of heartache. There is a sense of being a stranger in a strange land and so forth around you. And as a result, there is some sort of attachment issue, and that's what this is talking about. It's either a general tendency on your part to attach to others and to feel they somehow complete you, that you need to be healed from, because this is sort of trying on different sorts of masks and being different sort of people. And this is a very strong attachment, connection, influence, impact. The 2 vampires here are sort of almost joined at the hip. They rely on each other above all else. And then the angel of alchemy is about healing that part of you, that wounded inner child that felt possibly that you would never be loved or connected with, or the attachment issue was there. Or it is that you attract other people to you like that because of that you have such empathy for others that you see the different and you give them a sense of belonging, and they kind of latch onto you, in which case you need to sort of free yourself of some of that, because in either way it's not getting to the truth of love and so forth. So this is either about drawing people to you that get obsessive, or it's about you attaching to people because you're trying to sort of fill some lack in that was there in the past, or some feeling of not being loved or not being lovable and so forth. This card is saying you are every bit as lovable as anybody else. There is no reason to feel this, and that you can be healed. And it may literally need some healing, and some time out, some therapeutics and so forth. Particularly if you need to detach from a very strongly obsessive relationship, either on your side or on the others. It could also be mutual. It could be codependent. So there's something around attachment for you that stems from the inner child. So let's have a look at the healing cards, because that could be quite important to this sort of energy. We've got self-love. Well, that makes sense. and Phoenix rising. Okay, so this definitely suggests that you're aware of this. So if you're in a relationship that is overly attached, either on your part or on both parts, then you're aware of it and you need to actually come back to your inner child and self-love so that you aren't as dependent on another person. Or you need to be able to help others to understand self-love will also detach them a bit so that it's a more healthy sort of energy around you. You certainly are coming out of whatever this is. You've had the aha moment. Some of you may literally have recently detached from a relationship like this, either one that you felt, how do I even live without this person, or the other person put a lot of emotional pressure on you, or you've seen these patterns. But the Phoenix rising tells me that you are ready to take this on and to take on the alchemy, literally, of healing that this angel provides for you, and that takes you back to your inner child to understand what it was that you felt you lacked. Now, what we do want to do before we go to the tarot is we want to use the yes/no coin, not as yes or no, but yes will mean that this energy is very current, which would suggest you're still in a relationship that either you are too drawn to, the other person is, or it's codependent. If we get no, it means it's something in the past, something that you're moving away from, but you're still clearing out the energy that was and the patterns that were involved in doing this. So I'm just going to flip it off screen so I don't break the camera, and then we'll see which it is. Yes, okay, so it's still, you're still around a relationship, or still very, very much enmeshed in that sort of pattern where you draw people to you like this. So it's very present. This isn't something from the past, but certainly with the Phoenix rising, you're very aware of it and ready to heal and come out of it, which is, the first biggest step, which is great. So let's firstly get a little bit more information. It might be able to tell us a little bit more about whether it's your pattern of attachment or others' attachment to you, or something that's mutual, by asking a little bit more detail from the tarot about this particular experience and the energy that you need to release, and then we'll look at strategy. Okay, so there's two things I'm getting from this. I should note that this particular pack has more major arcana than most, including the astrological signs. The first overarching thing I get about this is that lots of other people are involved in this. So I suspect that you draw a lot of people who attach to you. And you may even, in some senses, have allowed that because it heals an inner wound. But I feel like there's a lot of people involved. If it is one particular relationship and you are very much attached to it, or they are very much attached to it, it's codependent, there are a lot of other people putting in their 2 cents worth, I've got to say. A lot of other people. But I feel like with this, that it's more that you draw a lot of people to you. The good news is that you've drawn someone who is more stable, more grounded. So there is a real possibility, I think, of a relationship. This is not about gender, but of a relationship that has long standing and that has real passion associated with it. But you draw in a lot of people who have an idea about relationships and who see you as a bit of a leader or an avatar or something. There's something very compelling about you, and I think that in a weird way needs to be healed, because I often think really charismatic people have very strange relationships. That's certainly from the charismatic people I've known. They seem to draw a lot of people to them that have a lot of kind of very almost transpersonal, like Aquarius needs. It's not really about the person, but there's somehow an icon of that. And I think you draw a lot of that, and you sometimes draw a lot of sharpness of tongue when you can't provide everything that they want. Like, you're either in a profession where people are always coming to you for support, and they kind of project, like you're a therapist that people project on and fall for, quote unquote, or there's just something about you that draws a lot of people around. Or, as I say, there's something in a relationship that you're trying to heal from and detach from. But as I say, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, if that's the case. There's too many other viewpoints. But I do think you have, if they were picking some of this as your energy as well too, you have the clarity of mind to see this through, and you can detach enough. I don't think most people who've come to this, I don't think for most of you are the people who latch on. I think it's more likely that other people latch on to you, because this feels a little bit detached. But But, if it is you, then you've come to that clarity and you know you need to detach. But I think for most of you, it's like there's something about you and you need to release some of the patterns that do this, because it keeps happening and people keep draining your energy and probably end up sort of feeling always that they're shortchanged and they get obsessive. You're the sort of person who'd have fans actually and followers. So that could be part of this energy as well too. So let's ask Spirit about... And maybe some of you have gone into the performing arts or something like that to heal your own inner child wound and to feel accepted and loved, but it's kind of got a little bit over the top. That's specific for some people. Okay, let's ask Spirit for some strategies for you. Okay, so firstly, know your own power. The Eastern Emperor is effectively the Emperor in any tarot deck. So in this particular one, it's the Eastern Emperor. And there's that sense of owning your own power. And part of that with Aquarius is by being able to stand back and look at it as a kind of almost intellectual exercise. So Spirit is saying that you do need to understand your own power and see your own power, and not jump into decisions about long-term relationships or whatever too quickly, because you draw this energy, sometimes what you will see of somebody will not be accurate. So give things time. Do not rush into it. You have the promise of being able to find the long-term relationship, but not if you act precipitously. Allow time to really see what's going on and understand the impact of your own power on this, to see whether it's a meeting of equals or whether it's one of these sort of fan type situations. Don't rush into the stability. Don't make commitments too soon, and don't be overly generous. You've got Charity reverse. Charity, as well as the star signs, there's also the various virtues, and the fact that we've got Charity reverse, I think, is saying that sometimes you need to be a little bit more critical and a little bit more, have more boundaries. You're too generous to people. This is part of what brings it in. You be in a workplace a servant leader, but it's almost as though doing that mixed with your charisma, people misinterpret it and want more from you than you would be prepared to give in that environment. So I think it's just understanding your own power and not acting too precipitously around emotional things and not giving too much is basically what Spirit is saying, because you are trying to deal with some inner child wound. But as I say, it's sort of getting compounded because everybody else with an inner child wound is turning up thinking you're going to heal them somehow. Okay, so let's see a little bit more about personality characteristics. So this could be yours, or it could be some of these people around you. So we'll just see what other information Spirit wants to give about this situation. Colour, firmness, individuality. Okay, so I think this is aspects of you, and they're sort of mainly working in your favour, but I think there's also a little bit of a kind of hint about what to do. And just wait for a second, I just want to get the camera a little bit more. It tends to sort of shift a bit. So there's something about you that's colourful, that's bright, that's charismatic. I think it's just basically affirming that, yes, that is true. And that's why this energy is still really around you. It's because it's part of who you are. You do need to be more firm. You are capable of doing that definitely, but you kind of need to be a little less generous, as I say. You need to really say what is individual about you. Observe others and work out where they might be copying you. So I think you do get copycats a lot, actually. And there's a lot of people who look at you and they think, oh, this is what it is to be self-actualized, or this is what it is to be confident, and not understand that that confidence you've had to earn, and it's been hard earned with the inner child, and it won't necessarily work for them. So there's a lot of copying or wanting to just be like you, and you need to be firm about what is yours and part of your personality rather than other people's personality. Okay, let's see from another deck some other aspects. Healer, guilty pleasures, self-employed. Okay, so I think this is mainly talking about you, and I think it's because Spirit wants to focus on you, that the rest of this is sort of just being aware of the impact of your personality. You are a healing energy to other people. That's why they're drawn to you. And they enjoy being around you. You're fun to be around. You're colourful. You enjoy yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just knowing that's part of what draws people to you. You're also very independent, and I think people who are around you would like to be independent. The irony is that they latch on to you, which is the exact opposite of independence. So it's that kind of irony of action when somebody is operating, and these people are operating from very unconscious sort of desires and dreams and wounds. So they latch onto you to be just like you, which to be individual, but that in fact can't work, as you know. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. You need to release some of your charisma. You need to release some of the patterns where people want to be you. That's really what this is about. And not run into relationships too quickly or give too much until you know that you're with people who can be more like peers and friends and not hangers-on or people who are vampirically feeding off you. So let's ask for a care package. So we'll start firstly for Spirit to give you a care package looking at astrology. Ninth house, opposition, we'll have a look at the planets for that, and 10th house. Okay, so a lot of this is going to happen in your career and in study or in sort of spiritual matters. So some of you are drawing people on a spiritual sort of or knowledge base. Some of them are drawn to you because they think you're incredibly knowledgeable and learned and they want you as a mentor or coach, but you do, and that could be fine as long as the boundaries are right around it, because they could project on you. And this is also the house of professional things. So some of you may be, as I say, therapists or psychologists or something. That particular branch of activity, work activity, is particularly susceptible to this sort of energy, I think. And the 10th house is who you are in the world. And so you will always be very strong and clear about who you are in the world. And that's what triggers some of this, but it also might be part of what could help. But there is a clash. There is something that you're trying to deal with. So let's see what planets are in opposition and see how that is operating with this situation for you, pile 4. Pluto, very transformative, very powerful, obsessive behaviour, and Venus, lots of people fall in love with you. Lots of people get obsessed. It's your charisma, it's your beauty, it's your intensity. And it gets in the way of you feeling like you can get to the true love as well too. And it would be confusing energy. This is why you need to release some of this. This is why you need to have some boundaries around it. Okay, so let's see what chakra energy is being impacted for you at the moment, pile 4. Crown chakra, so what you're getting from the heavens, and solar plexus, who you are in the world. So crown chakra here with amethyst, intuition and enhancement. I realize that crystals can enhance my everyday life. So I think this is really the universe saying, maybe get some crystals around you. Amethyst is probably one. And I learned to trust my intuition. You go into your intuition. You might actually shut that down a bit because you're so charismatic and strong and in the world, and because your inner child's a little bit wounded. So I think there might be a little bit of a hint here about connecting back to the divine and to your intuition. Then here with the solar plexus chakra, we have bumblebee jasper, honesty and celebration. I allow myself to celebrate each of my victories, and, sorry, it was hard to read. I choose to be honest with myself and others. Yes, there is an honesty that needs to be here, and you should be able to celebrate what you do without having a lot of hangers-on. There's a balance here for you. Okay, pile 4, we're going to finish off with 3 Astro Chakra cards just to bring this together for you. You've got a tricky energy because it's so much other people sort of directed in a way, but nevertheless, let's see what Spirit wants to say as a sort of balancing energy at the end for you. Spirituality, crown chakra again, definitely if you don't sort of do a lot in the spiritual space, maybe try. You're very psychic actually. Very psychic. Okay, I don't think most who come here realise how psychic they are, to be honest. It wasn't giving that sense. It was giving much more the charismatic person, but there's something about your spiritual energy that's involved in this as well too. To have 2 of the crown chakra is like having these 2 planets conjunct. So Pluto and Mars are conjunct, and then we've got Pluto and Venus opposite. Like, you are absolutely the prototypical person for obsessive attachments, but I think it's more towards you. There is a huge Plutonian energy to you. You are very transformative. You are likely to be in some sort of career, coaching, mentoring, therapeutics, something like that. There is something like that around you in some way, some higher learning around it too, but you need to connect to your source, because the energy, you need that balance, because there's so much energy coming to you, and because you're so psychic, you pick it up telepathically, very empathic. And with Uranus there in the third eye chakra, you need to be able to be more detached from that. It's like, let the energy come from the crown chakra, from the divine, not so much from other people. You need to almost, that's where you need to put the block. It's the energy coming from other people. So I hope that this resonates for you, Pile 4, and I hope that it's helpful. I hope you enjoyed it too. I mean, you've got a hell of a lot of charisma and power there. It's just managing how other people deal with it. And I hope this did help. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about it in the comments, I'd be really interested. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.